Attitude, it's the way that you think. It's the way that you interpret. It's the way that you understand. It's your overall outlook on life. And that has to be one of victory, not defeat. Too much of the people that I see, even that follow mental motivation, man, they're still governed by an attitude of defeat. And it's amazing to me. Why are you even following this page? I think they follow the pages because they want inspiration. But that's what I've always said. If you're just relying upon some motivational content, you'll find enough to help you get through another bad day. You'll find just enough to help you keep tolerating a life that you don't like. Real change begins when there's a fundamental change at your core. And that's going to be your attitude, your mindset, the way you see things, the way you look at things. Is it an attitude of defeat or is it an attitude of victory? Do you believe you are the one to prevail? Do you believe you are the one to succeed? And is this something that you're instilling in your life right now? Is this something that you're instilling maybe in your kids and those that are around you? We don't want to raise defeatists, man. We don't want to inspire and encourage defeatism in the people that are around us. How are you in the workplace? Are you whining, complaining? Because that's what most people do, man. They whine and they complain. They bitch instead of building. They whine instead of working. A lot of moaning going on. Not a lot of motivation, not a lot of inspiration. But this is what we need. People can get so scared so quickly by the news headlines, by what other people are saying, and they let it get into them like letting water get into your boat until you sink. You can let the water of the world, you can let the water of the negativity of other people seep into your boat and sink your boat. You should always be on guard, always be in protect mode when it comes to your heart, when it comes to your mind. What goes on in your head, what goes on in your emotions. That's too important. You have to be someone who sees themselves as the overcomer, someone who sees themselves as the winner in any situation. Not to be competitive. I'm not talking about being better than other people. It's being better than yourself. That's the important thing. It's to be better than yourself, to be better than you were yesterday, and to keep always moving and striving towards that larger goal. Do you have that kind of attitude? Do you have that kind of faith, that kind of confidence to know that the world is going to move, that the world is going to move? Because that's what faith does. It's the old, the famous faith statement, whoever shall say to the mountain, be removed, and be cast into the sea, and doesn't doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, he shall have whatever he says. Now, nobody's out there moving physical mountains, but we've all got some mountains in our lives, right? We've all got obstacles, significant things that we can't see how they're going to move. But faith says it's going to obey what I say. If I speak to this mountain and say, move into the ocean, it's going to obey me, that I can have what I say. Well, you got to speak. You have to say things. But in other words, by us continuing to enforce that positive attitude, that attitude of victory, that belief about achieving the impossible, in essence, that's what fuels the creative thinking, the problem solving, and the actions that we take, which then move mountains. So I do want to speak to that mountain. I do want to say these things. I think I've told the story before, but was a guy who was having a huge building built for his organization. And so every day he would go to the job site where they had all the big machinery out there digging up the soil and, laying the foundation and all that stuff. And so he would, on occasion, bring out his little 5-year-old boy with him to the job site. And whenever he'd be there with his 5-year-old, and no matter what stage of progress they were at, he would always ask his son, he would say, son, what do we call that? And he would point to the job site. What do we call that? And his son would say, Dad, we call that done. Isn't that good? He'd say, son, what do we call this? He says, Dad, we call this done. Exactly. Call it done. Call it, tell it to move, tell it to adjust, tell it to fix itself. It's going to conform to your attitude. It's going to conform. Now, in that instance, it was still construction workers and financing that got the building built. it was done. Did it mean that them calling it done made it happen? No, it's that attitude. And that boy's grew up. This was a long time ago, so he's probably in his 30s now. So I bet you he's got the attitude that his dad instilled in him. One of victory, not one of defeat, right? One of overcoming, one of conquering, one of life dominating. And I bet he calls everything in his life done. Whatever project you've got before you, say, I'm calling this thing done. Now let's get to work. And it's that attitude that creates the positivity, that brings more energy to your action. You get it done faster. You do a better job. You celebrate the victory. And that just reinforces your personal strength. Can you dig it? Hope you can.